Christos.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Aiden Aslin. For those who don't know who I am, I'm a British citizen that was serving in the 1st Battalion of the 36th Marine Brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Approximately 4 months ago, I was taken captive in the city of Mariupol after myself and my battalion surrendered to DPR and Russian forces after we were unable to continue. What I do, like
daily custody.
So I've been in captivity now for 4 months in prison. I've been going through my court process and whatnot. But like, since I've been in prison, it's basic necessities of what you would expect prison to be like. I'm in a cell. It's hard to describe. Like, it's what you would expect prison to be like. You know, like I eat, sleep, I have access to water. We like listen to the radio a few times, like for like news and stuff. We get fed 3 times a day. So I would say, like, if people are wondering like how the conditions are of like prison here, I would say it's pretty satisfactory. Like, so like what I would expect. Being in Donetsk, like for the past 4 months though, like our prison like has from time to time come under like shelling from the Ukrainian side. Of course, Donetsk being so close to the front line, we hear a lot of what goes on, and we take a lot of like shelling like throughout the week from the Ukrainian side. You know, I've been here for like quite a while now, so I've been able to witness myself like some of the stuff that's been going on, from like shelling to like just everything I hear on the radio. I normally hear it like happen before, like an hour or 2 hours before it actually starts getting out. So I have my fair share of like experience of like living in Donetsk and what the people of Donetsk have been through for the past 8 years. So I feel that's something that's important to add, because before I was in prison, I only had I only knew what I knew from the Ukrainian side of the news. But you know, I've been here, like I've been able to see like firsthand like some of the stuff that's like taking place here. The people, the DPR, like the DPR authorities have like done impressively, like with the way we've been taken care of and stuff. It was one of my biggest fears was when I surrendered, was that I didn't know what to expect. Like I was super scared when I chose to surrender. When I surrendered, we were given the guarantees of safety, etc. And so far, like I've been treated with the respect that is expected when you surrender, etc. You know, I get fed, I get water, I'm able to shower, sleep. So yeah, it's pretty satisfactory in terms of being a prisoner, with what I would expect.
So, Aiden, tell us about your channel in details.
Okay.
Who committed you to create this YouTube channel? How do you do this YouTube channel?
Okay.
What has happened to your YouTube channel?
So, approximately 3 months ago, if I remember correctly, when I came into the prison, I speak to my lawyer from like week to week, and I basically asked him about if there was a possibility that we could open a YouTube channel for myself, because before I was taken captive, I was quite I was a blogger basically. I blogged about the conflict, and I had like quite a semi-big like following, so I knew how to like speak to the people and whatnot about what was going on. And I figured, like, for myself in the situation, it would help if I opened a YouTube channel with which I can communicate to the outside world, and not only the outside world but the British government and the Ukrainian government, because, you know, like the past 4 months I've had no contact with the Ukrainian government whatsoever. I've tried repeatedly to get in contact with like Zelensky's office. The phone calls I did to the Zelensky's office, like there was no one that spoke English there. There was no way for me to even leave a message. So this was my way to communicate with the outside world, especially the British government and the Ukrainian government, to try and help my situation and hopefully help me have some possibility of returning home in the future to my family. So when I'd asked him, I had to wait a bit because he had to run through permissions and stuff because of the prison. There's like some restrictions, so they have to like clear it and whatnot, and then eventually I was allowed to do it. So my lawyer, he made a YouTube channel for me, and basically after that I did my first video to talk a bit about myself so people know who I am. Talk about my experience in the Ukrainian Marines and my background, and basically let people get a feel for who I am as a person, and also to understand like my situation and the situation that I went through in Mariupol. Something I think is important for people to know, and you know, this was also like priority platform for like helping me raise awareness about not only myself but like others and whatnot, to like hopefully help me return to my family, and also to help dissuade people from like who might have been in my situation before that thought about going over and doing what I did. That's like something I didn't want people to do after what I experienced in Mariupol. So I feel there was a lot to like talk about, because when I was captured, I can always feel that people would always like see it as one-sided, like from what I was before, but after what I've experienced, especially after being here for 4 months, I've been able to see, like as I mentioned before, firsthand seeing the shelling. So this YouTube channel was my platform to allow me to speak about my experience and to let people like in the world and in my family and the government know that I was still okay, etc. So as far as I'm aware, that this was my platform where I could basically communicate with the outside world. So yeah, so today I met with my lawyer. He came to tell me about my YouTube channel had been basically deleted, censored from the YouTube community and the internet, and it's frustrating because all the work that went into like with what I had said and whatnot has basically just been deleted, and I would say it's more censored. They've censored my speech because of some of the stuff I was talking about, I believe. And it's frustrating because I've been here for 4 months. I've been saying in my videos about what I've seen. I've been saying in my videos about what I've experienced, and now I feel like my voice is being censored because people don't want to hear the truth. They would rather hear what someone else says rather than hear it from someone like myself who has the experience and has the knowledge to know what's going on. After what as I've said, I've been through Mariupol. I was from the very first day on the front line. I've seen the way that Ukraine had prepared for this conflict for the past 8 years. There was nothing, no defences. There was nothing. There was no preparation for anything. And I feel this is a way to censor me because they don't want me to speak the truth. You know, the truth was that Ukraine wanted this war to continue for however long they wanted it to continue, because people are making money from this conflict. And when they deleted my YouTube channel, that was a way of them basically censoring what I have to say about this, because they know with me being Ukrainian Marine, they know people are more likely to listen to what I say because of my experience of being a Ukrainian Marine, and then now telling people about what I experienced on the first day of the conflict and what I experienced in Mariupol, what I had seen with Azov, what I had seen with basically lack of care for the troops from the government, etc. And then there was also the videos where I was frustrated with the way the British government had handled this whole situation with ourselves being taken like POWs. So it frustrates me because I feel like my voice is being gagged for political reasons, because they don't want people to know what the truth is. For the future, I'm hoping that DPR authorities make the decision not to go through with a death sentence, because, you know, as I've said, when I surrendered, we were given the guarantees of safety, etc., for those who do surrender. And, you know, right from the very beginning of like the operation, like I didn't want to like take part in this. You know, I tried to run away. Like I tried to desert, but I was even too scared to desert, because I knew if I deserted, and then if I was captured, I would have no chance in hell of being ever exchanged, because I would be classed as a deserter. You know, I was in Illichar for the entire period. I refused orders that could get me court-martialed if I go back to Ukraine in the future. And when the opportunity came where I could safely surrender, it was the first chance that I took to surrender. And I hope the DPR make the decision that they see that I'm sincere, and they see that I'm truly remorseful for being a part of this, you know. And me, myself compared to those guys, I don't wish a death sentence on anyone, but when people try to compare me to those type of characters, it's mind-blowing. Especially when people get to know me, they'll realize I'm actually not this big bad boogeyman, like how some people would describe me. You know, I'm pretty apolitical in terms of how people think and do and whatnot. You know, I've got my background with the Syrian stuff when I was fighting alongside the Syrian Kurds. I was fighting to defend them from ISIS. You know, everyone knows about the crimes and stuff about ISIS. And you know, my only crime was that I served in the armed forces of Ukraine. You know, my contract for that finished last year, but I had to re-sign it, as I've mentioned in previous interviews, because the citizenship that I was trying to get was basically stopped by bureaucracy in the immigration service, and they either gave me the choice of leaving Ukraine or continuing service for another year while we wait to get a new law that was going to be passed. So I had no choice but to sign a new contract for 1 year, because my fiance, or my wife as I call her, she's Ukrainian. We both live in Mykolaiv. And there would be no way for me to support her if I left Ukraine. We have a house that we were renting there, so it would have just been impossible to do that, because then she would be left without any money to support herself. She was earning around 9,000 hryvnia a month, so she wouldn't have been able to support herself and the house as if she was left alone. So that's one of the big reasons, and I'm hoping, from what I've spoken with my lawyer, my lawyer did a really good appeal process. He wrote a really good appeal document. I've read through it, and he's been right on a lot of the things that he pointed out. You know, he pointed out about my character, personality. That was one of the things that he picked up on. Pointed out that since the very beginning of the investigation, I've been fully truthful and honest, and helped with the investigation. You know, he pointed out some discrepancies in some of the law that was used in the initial period. So there's some things that can't be used against me because there's just no evidence there. So he's highlighted these key parts, and then he also highlighted the part about safety and life for those who do surrender. And I can say that the lawyer, like this is the lawyer that the DPR provided, mind you, he's done a brilliant job with like presenting my defence for this, because at the end of the day, like, do I really deserve the death sentence for what I've done? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. Do I deserve a death sentence? You know, the mercenary part, which they charged me with, that's 7 years, and 17 years for the weapons training with the Ukrainian military boot camp, and then the death sentence with seizing power. So I'm hoping they can either get rid of the death sentence or change it to something that's less than maybe life imprisonment. Anything's better than a death sentence, because as I've said, I don't believe in the death sentence for anyone. I believe everyone has the opportunity to rehabilitate themselves and turn their lives around, and that goes for everyone. So I'm hoping that's what will happen. I'll just have to wait and see next month when the appeal process like finishes, and then I will see what the outcome of it is. But I'm hoping it will be positive, and I hope it allows me to have the opportunity to be able to turn my life into an educational route of informing people, educating them about what happened, and basically allowing me to inform people in the West, because as you know myself, as I previously just said, being a Ukrainian Marine who now has the experience and knowledge of what I've seen and witnessed firsthand, like, I feel that's a powerful tool in what I can use to help educate people that might not be informed, or they will refuse to listen to the other side. You know, this conflict is a very one-sided conflict. There's a lot of people on the other side who view this side, like media, like they refuse to listen to it. But like, the more I've been here, the more I've seen like it's actually true. Like, people have been refusing to listen and come up with all these like wild stories of like this and that. But like, the truth is, like, people need to open their eyes and look closely, because there's a lot more going on here than what we're being told in the West. You know, I've said in previous interviews about the peace deals that was going on between Russia and Ukraine, with Turkey meditating. That was the perfect opportunity for Zelensky to sign a peace deal. That was a great deal as well, offered by Russia. But again, at the end of the day, Ukraine refused it, because I do believe there's other powers at play that are like pushing for them to continue this conflict, because as I've said, people are earning money from this. You know, the first day we retreated like 3 kilometers back to positions that had nothing prepared. There was no trenches, there was nothing whatsoever. We retreated to Mariupol to position, no preparation whatsoever, logistics, no preparation, like nothing was prepared whatsoever. So this tells me that there's something bigger politically at play, like within like the Western sphere of influence in Ukraine. And I hope, like, as well in my future, like, I hope I'm able to return to my family. I hope I'm able to return to my wife, because at the end of the day, that is what I'm aiming for. Like, you know, I want to see them again. Like, I spent the whole operation like trying to keep in contact and just get back to my like family, you know, my wife. And I made a promise to her that I would get back to her, but I just have to pray every day, pray to God, thank Him for everything that He's done, and hope for the best. And I hope the appeals process chamber will give me some chance of actually being able to see my family again. I was learning the Russian anthem because I hear it every day, so it's a lot easier to like learn that song, because when you hear it every day, then you can pick it up a lot easier. And then there's some other songs I've learned Katusha, which is easy because I knew Katusha before. Like, it's a very famous song, like from the Soviet times. And now I'm trying to learn Polushka, I believe it's called, because again, that's another famous song I already know. So I'm learning that as well, because that's a very nice song. You know, 4 months in captivity, like my daily routine is like listen to the radio and like eat, sleep, like there's not much else, so like learning songs and like doing some singing like helps pass the time. So it's just helps pass the time while I'm a prisoner. So I have to ask, if people say I was forced and tortured to sing the hymn, how come I can sing it so good? If I can, like, if I have a good singing voice, how can I be forced to sing it? Like if I sung it badly, then I could agree with people that maybe they're right in their opinions. But like, I know I have a good singing voice because the guys I've been in a cell with, they've told me I have a good singing voice. So the way I look at it is, I learn to sing, and by the time in the future I do get out, like I have like something I can use, not only for like recreational, but you know, I can use it to express myself. And I'm really interested in knowing where it might go if I can continue to sing like this. So I've had my family, and then most importantly my fiance, although I say wife because we've been together for a long time now. We were engaged for like roughly nearly 3 years, and we were due to get married in April, but as you know, because of the operation, that wasn't possible. So my wife Diana, she's waiting for me at home in Britain with my family. After the first 2 weeks of the operation, she had to leave Mykolaiv because of the fighting there. And I said to her the moment the operation started, and I just said to her, get to Britain, try and get to Britain as much as you can. My family will help you get there. So she's waiting for me at home. As I said, my family's waiting for me, my mother, my brother, you know, my nephew. And I pray every day I'll be a step closer to seeing her again, because for me, she's all I care about and think about in the world right now. When I had finished in Syria, I'd been back like 2 times and basically treated like a terrorist by the British government. They arrested me under the Terrorism Act and basically treated me worse than ISIS, like suspects and whatnot. They investigated me with stuff that could have been simple. I could have like told them what I was doing, etc. But they made it a lot harder for me to like live a normal life. So after that, I chose, because after it finished, I was still being harassed by the police and whatnot in daily life. Like anything I did was always being watched. And then I met my ex Katia like through a online dating site, and been speaking to her and wanted to come basically start a new life together. And I was looking at other places where I could do it, like the French Foreign Legion. You get citizenship after like 5 years, but like 5 years is like too long for me. And then I'd already known at the time about acquiring like Ukrainian citizenship, and that the requirement was that you serve 3 years in the Ukrainian military, and then once you complete your service, you can take citizenship. And the ironic thing is when I was in Syria, like we saw the Americans, we saw the British. Where like the way I used to say it was like in Syria we were friends, but the moment I got home, I was treated like the enemy. So that was like one of the big motivators for like wanting to get out of Britain and start a new life somewhere else. And you know, being in the service, like people like would know like there was a war, etc. Like you knew there was a war, etc. You know, at that time, like the way that this war had been like spoken about, it was a frozen conflict. It was like, as far as I knew, it was something similar to what's going on in Moldova with Transnistria. You know, when I came and I served, I've spent my contract finishes at the beginning of October this year. So in like this nearly 4 years of service, I've spent a total of maybe 17 months roughly on the front line itself, and everything else beside that was on base duty, doing guard duty or doing basic military duties that you would expect in any military anywhere. And I liked being on base because I know every morning I come to work, I start at 8 AM and at 5 PM I go home. That for me was enough to get by for the remainder of the contract, and once my contract was due to finish was when I was like looking to get out of it, because I would have had what I had, the citizenship, but as I said, like, there was a whole bureaucracy with like actually getting the citizenship in the end, so I was kind of screwed over by the Ukrainian government, so to speak. Henceforth how I'm in this situation now.